I'm really rich. I'll show you that in a second.
问你一个问题哦，如果你连续破产6次，你觉得自己的人生还有救吗？我想大部分人可能早就倾家荡产了，对吧？但唐纳德·川普这个人，他就是能靠着这6次惨败，把自己完成了身价100亿的赢家代名词。你可能会觉得，哇，这种情况下，一般人早就完蛋了。但川普呢，他竟然把这些大家眼中的失败，转化成打造一个价值数十亿美元品牌的基石。
I'm really rich. I'll show you that in a second.
你以为他还在辛苦盖大楼、开赌场吗？错了，他发现了一个比收租还要更狂的赚钱方法，那就是出租自己的名字。
The Kennedy Center is getting a new name, and Donald Trump is getting a new honor. Workers added President Trump's name to the sign on Friday, just a day before the Board of Trustees voted unanimously to rename the Arts Institution.
你知道吗？在全世界有几十栋挂着 Trump 招牌的超高级大楼，他其实连一块砖头都没买过，但别人却要捧着几百万美金求他授权挂名。所以今天我们就要来拆解川普到底是怎么利用他自己发明的这个词。
Nobody knows politicians better than I do.
There's nobody bigger or better at the military than I am.
Nobody's better to people with disabilities than me.
There's nobody that's done so much for equality as I have.
真实的夸张，一种听起来好像无伤大雅的夸大手法，但实际上却是超有效的宣传形式，把一个债台高筑的失败商人包装成全世界最值钱的个人品牌。准备好了吗？大家好，我是阿水，我们现在就翻开传奇书签下一页，一起揭开这场横跨40年最疯狂的商业幻术。好，我们就先从头说起。第一幕，川普品牌的锻造。时间回到1980年代。
Most people understand that in order to make progress, you have to do things which aren't necessarily going to make you the most popular boy on the block. And that's what we did. In that case, we had a decision to make, and we had to make a decision.
那个时候的川普啊，就开始非常精心的打造他的公众形象。他的目标其实很简单，就是让自己成为成功的同义词。那他是怎么做到的呢？
People say something false, I attack those people. Because the news gets away with murder. The news media, they get away with murder.
他很懂纽约媒体的游戏规则，他会主动去跟那些八卦专栏作家当朋友，提供源源不绝的所谓内部消息，有时候甚至自己爆料给自己，就是要让自己变成报纸头条的常客。说真的，媒体超爱他的，因为他给了媒体最需要的2样东西，一个是管道，另一个就是说不完的故事。
The President of the United States, Donald Trump.
Sounds good.
当然啦，光说不练是不够的，他还用了非常多极尽奢华的视觉符号来强化他超有钱的形象。比方说，他那架镀金的私人飞机，还有这艘叫做川普公主号的超级游艇。
这艘是目前世界上最豪华的私人游艇，是美国富豪唐纳·川普所拥有的。
这艘游艇可不是开玩笑的，里面有100多个房间，墙壁铺满了昂贵的羚羊皮，然后浴室呢是用一整块玛瑙手工雕刻出来的。这一切的一切都像是在对全世界大喊：我川普拥有你根本无法想象的财富。不过这一份财富到底有多真实呢？这就有趣了。你看哦，在1984年，富比士杂志估算他的身价大概是2亿美金。结果呢，就有一个自称是川普公司副总裁，名叫约翰·巴伦的人打电话给记者。
Assets have been consolidated to Mr. Trump, because you have down Fred Trump, and I'd like to talk to you off the record if I can, just to make your thing easier.
Okay, sure.
Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, but I think you can really use Donald Trump now, and you can just consolidate. I think last year somebody showed me the article, and I think you had 200 and 200, and really it's been pretty well consolidated now for the most part. As I also think somebody had mentioned that you had asked just about that, or somebody had, and it's been pretty well consolidated. Okay.
说，不对，我们老党的身价远远超过7亿美金。结果呢，很多年之后，记者才从当年的录音带里惊讶地发现，那个约翰·巴伦其实就是川普本人啦。
And yet, no one could imagine the unimaginable. No one could imagine that someone would do something like this, call as their own PR person.
你看，在电话里，他假借巴伦的口，精心编造了一个关于自己无往不利的成功故事。就像这句话讲的，他宣称川普之所以能赚这么多钱，就是因为他总是有办法用史上最高的价格卖掉房地产。这就是他透过虚构一个身份向媒体植入的完美人设。但好景不长，我们来到第2幕。
How the casino Trump dubbed the 8th wonder of the world will take him on his first trip to the bankruptcy court.
His well-documented and severe financial downturn in the past year.
价值10亿美元的崩盘。到了1990年代初期，这个被他精心打造出来的神话，终于还是撞上了残酷的金融现实。他的商业帝国可以说是分崩离析，赌场一个接一个倒闭破产，公司背了好几十亿美元的债务。
You don't mind, what did you have to unload?
Well, I didn't unload. I sold things. I sold the shuttle.
All right, the shuttle is no longer the Trump shuttle.
I unloaded the wife.
然后他失去了自己的航空公司，也失去了纽约的地标广场饭店，以前那些光环瞬间就黯淡下来了。在这个时候他的个人净资产跌到了谷底。你没看错，是负的9亿美元。
You owed something like $900 million. Your empire was pretty
much more than that.
You owed more than that?
975 was personally guaranteed. That was just the small part. That was the harder debt. But I owed many, many billions of dollars, and now my company is much bigger and stronger than it was in the.
这个数字真的赤裸裸地揭示了他当时财务崩溃的规模有多么巨大，情况到底糟到什么地步？
The bankers faced a fundamental decision.
The Trump Organization confirmed today.
It was at a time when we all were trying to figure out, is it better off this guy being alive financially, or is it better off having him dead financially?
遭到那只借他钱的银行，为了怕他彻底破产，只好介入，还给他设定了个人生活费的上限，1个月45万美元。你想想看，对于一个曾经挥金如土的亿万富翁来说，这简直是天大的羞辱。
Better about hard times than me. I had a company, it was doing well. I had tremendous debt like this country. And in 1990, the whole country, it just went very, very bad.
所以到了这个地步，川普的神话可以说是彻底破碎了。他不再是媒体的宠儿，慢慢的就变成另一个没有人关心的失败的纽约开发商。如果按照正常的商业逻辑来看，他的品牌价值到这里应该已经归零了才对。但是故事还没结束，我们来到第3幕，王者归来的谁是接班人？
You're fired.
就在他快要被大家忘记的时候，他找到了一个可以让他扭转干坤的完美舞台——实境电视节目。他的品牌转型，我们可以把它看成一个3部曲。第一步，问题是什么？他背负着一个失败商人的形象。第2步，解决方案是什么？就是去主演电视节目《谁是接班人》。那最终的结果呢，就是他浴火重生，变成了一个强悍过绝、永不言败的生存者偶像。就像当时有评论说的，他现在要开始经营一个全新的角色版本，那就是幸存者。他真的非常聪明哦，利用这个节目，把自己从一个失败者的故事主角，成功改写成一个从失败中重新站起来的斗士。于是最关键的转变就发生了，川普品牌这个东西本身取代了那些实体的建筑，成为它最主要的产品。这个品牌所代表的成功还有韧性的故事，变得比任何一栋摩天大楼都还有更有价值。好，那品牌重塑成功之后呢，当然就是要赚钱了。我们来到最后的第4幕， 品牌级生意。川普开始把他这个无形的品牌资产转化成实实在在的现金流，而且他品牌变现的手法可以说是与时俱进。从90年代开始，他授权自己的名字给大楼和各种商品，到2023年，他发行了价值720万美元的 NFT 数位收藏卡。
By popular demand, I'm doing a new series of Trump digital trading cards. You all know what they are. We've had a lot of fun with them. It's called the America First Collection.50 all-new stunning digital trading cards. It's really something. These cards show me dancing and even me holding some bitcoins.
甚至在2025年还推出了加密货币的冥冥币 Trump。你看，它的产品已经从实体的东西走向了纯粹的数位涵盖页。所以我们讲了这么多，整个分析最核心的观点就在这里。他所讲述的那个故事，远比他实际拥有的资产还要更赚钱。他的整个商业帝国其实是建立在一个精心打造而且不断演化的叙事上面的。这也带出了我们最终的结论，那就是事实永远排在故事之后。
I'm really rich. I'll show you that in a second.
不管是夸大财富、重塑形象，还是把品牌货币化，它都一再证明了，只要你的故事够吸引人，事实的真相是什么，好像就没有那么重要了。这或许就是川普品牌能够屡次失败却又不断上升的终极秘密吧。如果你对今天的内容觉得有兴趣，请帮我按个赞，这对我来说是极大的鼓励。更重要的是，记得订阅我的频道，我会持续为大家提供更多更好的影片。